So the Cardinals lose 6-3 in Oakland. They, I don't know what this is. I have no theories. My one theory, which is kind of a cheap shot theory, today, after knowing they already won the series. This again, it's cheap shot theory because I don't have anything to actually support it. But just watching what I watched, didn't like seeing what I saw. So my one cheap shot theory is, well, we already won the series, won the first two at Oakland, so the whole thing, man, win the series. We did that. Man, it'll be nice to get home for the off day. We're off tomorrow, kind of rest up. You get Milwaukee coming in for the weekend. Come on, boy, let's just get the heck out of here, go home, enjoy the day off on Thursday. That's my theory, cheap shot or otherwise, and I'm sticking to it. Well, I'm just going to stick to it. I don't trust them. So this is just one of those crazy things. Last year, they could not win the first game of a series. Now they've put a new twist on it. They can't win the final game of a series. So far, they're 0-6 in the final game of each series they've played. If you add it all up, they're 0-6. So instead of a 4-2 road trip, it is a 3-3 road trip. Instead of being a game over 500 at 10-9, well, they're a game under 500 at 9-10. The offense, and put quotes around the word offense, has scored 3 runs or less in 10 of the last 11 games and 12 out of 19 games overall. What in the world is going on with that offense other than, well, we actually kind of know, Jim. We talk about Paul Goldschmidt's age. He'll be 37 in September. If the first 3 weeks mean anything, he looks like maybe he's going to be 47 in September.
Yeah.
Nolan Arenado, kind of perked up there for a little bit. He had been on a nice little roll, but you still look at the overall power numbers in the season. There's a lot to be there's a lot to be desired there that he's not delivering. So when you have your two guys not doing a thing, not much anyway, Goldie not doing a thing, I'm not being mean. I'm not being disrespectful. The facts are the facts, man. He doesn't have an extra base hit since the first game of the season. And now he's hitting, less than 200. What do you want me to say? As I always do say, I can only work with the material that's presented to me. And that's why I'm talking about Goldie and sort of the bleak numbers there. Arenado less bleak, but still not great. Jordan Walker, the nickname Jordan Ground Ball Walker. Nothing but ground balls. Last year was nothing but ground balls early. And then as the season went on, he's elevating baseballs. You saw the strength. You saw the power. How do you go back to just slapping the ball on the ground all the time? Just about all the time. How does that happen? Did we not learn anything at all from being a rookie? See, the thing of it is, you're supposed to get better in the second season, not worse. Not this much worse. Slow start, yeah. Being this bad, no. Nolan Gorman. Now, anyone who has read me or listened to me for the last 2+ years, you know that I'm a Nolan Gorman honk. But as a Nolan Gorman honk, which means, like, you can call me his PR man, I don't like watching him at all right now. I don't like watching him at all. Again, if you improve significantly from your rookie year to your second year and you have all that mad power and a lot of things got better with the plate discipline in your second season, why have you reverted back to your inexperienced rookie year type of problems at the plate? I don't understand that. Should be getting better. Is he getting better? No. Is Walker getting better? No. Who else am I leaving out as far as like they should be better and they're not?
Oh, I think there's the three names there.
That's four names.
Or four. Those guys, that pretty much seals why your lineup can only get 3 runs on any given day.
That's 4 of your 9 hitters, right?
Yep.
And there's not much to speak of on the bench, and I give Ali Marmol credit for not worrying about a catcher you might have to use if somebody gets hurt. He's just saying, heck with that. I want Herrera in the lineup. I want Contreras in the lineup. If whoever's catching that day gets hurt and just can't continue in the game, well, that means we give up the DH because I'm going to take the DH, whether it's Contreras or Herrera, I'm going to put him behind the plate. You do that, you lose a DH, and then your pitcher's got to hit. Well, that's a worthy calculation when you have such a stagnant, moribund offense. That's worth taking a gamble on. He's doing it. They've shown they can manufacture runs. I give them credit. They've done a really nice job of that. But the guys that should be leading your team to some occasionally, just with greater frequency, much better days offensively, when they're all a big part of the problem, well, what the hell you think is going to happen? I mean, Donovan's doing his thing. Nootbaar looks good. The catchers look good, one of whom's going to be a DH, whatever day it is. Mm-hmm. They're good. You don't have a bench. When Matt Carpenter gets back, you still won't have a bench.
Right.
Mason Wynn's been fantastic, but then you got to worry about, well, we don't want to hurt Brandon Crawford's feelings. So you don't have a bench, not the kind of bench you need or want. So we can understand why they're in the shape they're in. This is one of the worst offenses statistically, factually in Major League Baseball in terms of runs per game. They went into today 14th out of 15 teams in the National League in runs per game, and the average is going to go down a little bit more now after today's 3-run outburst. 10 out of the last 11 games and 13 of your first 19 games, 3 or less. You've only scored more than 3 runs in 6 of your first 19 games. There's no excuse for that. But maybe, when guys weren't as fully developed as you thought they were, or maybe not as fully developed between the ears as you thought they were, and a couple of guys are getting old before their time, you got yourself a problem, don't you? If these things are true.
There are many issues there, especially if the old guys can't do their thing. Because
they need the young guys too.
Yeah, the young guys too. And I'll throw another hole, and this isn't a hole that should be a problem because you're getting defense out of it. Is center field. You're not getting any help out of that spot offensively, but with the other guys, if they do anything, that shouldn't be an issue. Because you knew your center field position right now when you started the season wasn't going to give you a lot of offense because you got guys in there that can go catch the ball and go get the ball.
Yeah,
I'm talking about Scott and Ciani when he's in there. Those guys are out there to go catch the ball. They're not out there to generate your offense. But right. Now you're going, now I got another hole. Well, now that's 5 holes as a whole in your lineup. You're not going to score a whole heck of a lot with 5 holes in any lineup,
And you got a real problem at your number 2 spot. Whoever had those numbers at the number 2 spot would be a real problem. You don't even look at the name. You just know it's a problem. How are they going to deal with that? I don't know, man. There's a lot of good things happening with this team, which I have not ignored, but at some point you got to gain some traction. You got to start putting this together for more than a couple of days at a time. You had Oakland down today, and you couldn't wait to get to the damn airplane to fly home. That's what that looked like. I could be totally wrong. That's my initial reaction. And keep in mind, I am Mr. Number 162 as far as remember the bigger picture. The Milwaukee Brewers will be at Busch Stadium. It'll be the first division action the Cardinals have had this year. And the NL Central's tightened up pretty well. I mean, a lot of teams bunched up. The Cardinals are in the mix. It's not like, first of all, you don't like downgrade somebody's chances just because, as the Cardinals are, they're technically in last place. It's April the 17th, but I'm just saying the whole division's really bunched up. I think we're in for a really entertaining summer in terms of what's going to happen in the NL Central. To help us answer that and other things, our friend Jay Jaffe, such a great writer, such an important Hall of Fame analyst as far as determining cases and who deserves or who has the case at least to be in the Hall of Fame or perhaps not. And been following Jay for years, been talking to him for years, and appreciate everything that he does as well as everything that everybody does at Fangraphs. You can follow the Fangraphs senior writer at J_Jaffe, Jaffe, at J_Jaffe on X. And he joins us now. Sorry for the long intro there, man. How are you, Jay?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing good. If you have some early season thoughts on the NL Central, please share them. What do you make of some of these teams? Milwaukee's look good. Pittsburgh's look good. The Cubs are having some injuries and other problems. Cardinals just can't get an offense going. I mean, there's the Reds. I don't know what their issue has been, but they all have something good going for them. But there also seems to be perhaps some holes or some potential weaknesses. What do you think of the whole division so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is about what we can expect here. I mean, these 5 teams in our preseason projections at Fangraphs, we had them projected within a 6-win range, top to bottom, with the Cardinals at 83.3 wins, the Pirates at 77.5. That's like, the average of 100,000 simulations, what we came up with there. And, all these teams are pretty close together. And I think we're going to see, a very competitive race here that nobody's going to run away with. There are no 95-win teams in this division, I don't think. There's not that potential. But I think it should be pretty entertaining because you've got a lot of good young players here with more perhaps on the way. I mean, it's some interesting stuff going on with the Brewers, interesting stuff even going on with the Pirates, whom I wrote about last week. Like you said, the Cardinals are having some offensive problems. We've seen Goldschmidt hasn't gotten going. The outfield has generally not been productive. The pitching makeover, mixed reviews so far. But like you said, they are in last place, but they're not. They're not out of it. They're not playing bad baseball. They're 9-9. I mean, all these teams more or less are going to be within a few games of 500. I think if unless something really radical happens.
Yeah, I'd say, Jay Jaffe, I'd say the one thing that really does surprise me, and of course I'm very much cognizant of the fact that they had Nootbaar out for all but the last 5 or 6 games, and since he returned, Edmonds out, Carlson's out. They're making their way back, but they're not here yet. So I'm cognizant of the fact they've been missing some pieces, but I am, and I joke always on the show, I try to avoid overreacting. I always joke with my listeners that just call me Mr. 162 because I always preach that, so I get it. I am really surprised how bad their offense is so far, whether it's early or not. It's just really hard to watch. I mean, they've scored 3 or fewer runs 10 of the last 11 games and 12 of their first 19 games. That is what you just did. Oof. I didn't think it'd be this bleak right now. Goldie go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
I'm surprised. No, I was just going to say I am surprised. I mean, I know Goldschmidt fell off from his MVP season in 22 to last year. I don't think anybody expected him to be struggling like this, and I wonder if there's a physical issue or what's going on there. Most of the rest of it is, I think, maybe a little bit more garden variety. It's a slump. You probably got guys who are pressing a little bit because the next guy's not hitting, and that can feed on a team. Looking up and down the stats, though, I see that Victor Scott is hitting 089, and I think that experiment might have run its at least for the time being. It doesn't seem like that's working there, and I know that's injury related. But I am surprised that guys like Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker haven't gotten it going. I expect they're going to be a much more potent offense down the road, but this has got to be hard to watch.
Yeah, it really is. And they've got some – and the thing I think if you're a Cardinals fan, Jay, just for Cardinals fans out there, the thing that's disappointing about it is, Brendan Donovan is doing the Brendan Donovan thing. He's such a gem for his ability to get on base, draw walks, hit to all fields. I mean, he's a really nice player. So he's come out of the chute really well. Mason Wynn's been fantastic, to say the least. He's hitting 347
Right.
and hitting the ball much harder. Ivan Herrera, he's quieted down a bit, but he's showing that he can not only hit, but probably hit forcefully in the major leagues. So they've had some pleasant surprises. And not that I think that Donovan's a surprise, but Donovan also missed the final 2 months having elbow surgery. So you wondered whether it was going to take some time for him to get going. So they've had some nice surprises, but they don't have a lot to show for it because some of their key parts that you just cited are just kind of MIA right now.
Yeah, it's tough to watch, but at the same time, it is only 18 games so far. So I don't think you can get too bent out of shape, especially when this is not a team that anyone expected to win 95 games. Again, we're seeing them as around a 500 team. They have been exactly a 500 team so far. They've been slightly outscored, but those kinds of things are going to vary. It does seem like they've been looking at our projected standings here and the underlying base runs, which is kind of the components of what's going on underneath, the singles, the walks, the strikeouts, and things like that, is that they have been underperforming a slight bit on offense relative to what they've been doing, what we could have expected, but overperforming a bit on the run prevention side. They're about 0.4 of a run better than their stats would have suggested. So, they're going to have to tighten things up if they're going to win this division. And we did project them to win, but it is a very tight race, and we're expecting that.
Jay Jaffe, I'm going to be honest here. I'm kind of embarrassed because I like to stay on top of everything, but for some reason I let myself fall behind in terms of keeping up with all things Chicago Cubs. And I do know that there's some injury-related turmoil, and I just, if you could give us a state of the Cubs presentation about how they've played so far and some of the problems they might be dealing with.
Yeah, I haven't looked too closely at the Cubs. I did write about Michael Busch today because I find his arc very interesting because he just ran off a streak of five straight games with a homer after being sort of frozen out with the Dodgers, a man without a position or a path to major league playing time. But they just lost Seiya Suzuki to an oblique strain. He's been one of their hottest hitters. Like the Cardinals, they've got some guys who they've had a hard time getting going. Cody Bellinger being one of them. Christopher Morel's kind of slow starting. Dansby Swanson's slow starting. But on the whole, I mean, they're in a slightly better place than the Cardinals are, starting off 10-7. The pitching has been uneven. I watched Kyle Hendricks last night. That was tough to watch. He's just not the same pitcher he was 5 or 6 years ago when the Cubs were a powerhouse. Shota Imanga, on the other hand, has been a godsend for them. Hasn't allowed a single earned run so far. It's a very mixed bag for them, and I think the variance that we see over the course of 2 or 3 weeks isn't uncommon, but they do have some bright spots there. Like I said, with Michael Busch's performance, he's been one of the top hitters in the league after struggling in a few brief stints with the Dodgers last year, suddenly hitting fastballs again and living up to the projections that said this guy is a future middle of the lineup hitter for a major league team.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like a lot of people that were tracking off-season stuff. I thought when they got Michael Busch, and I wasn't all that familiar with him, but I learned of his background pretty quickly as far as his power potential. And but those poor Dodgers, they can't keep all their top 20 prospects or whatever. They almost gave them away. Not really, but the Cubs were fortunate to make that trade. Do you think it's a stupid question, so I apologize, but do you think he's going to be the real deal for them?
I think he could be a productive first baseman. And the knock on him was always his defense, and it was, when he was at North Carolina, he played mainly first base with some left field. The Dodgers tried him at second base. That didn't go so well. They tried him at third base. That didn't go so well. It's kind of the Nolan Gorman where, this guy can hit. Where do you put him though? They're lucky. Bush is lucky that the Dodgers did him a solid by finding him a team that did have a first base vacancy. Now it's been sort of, he's kind of on notice because of the Cody Bellinger re-signing, and the Cubs do have a center field prospect in Pete Crow Armstrong. So there could be a bit of a squeeze, and there's already some moving parts there. But I think he's going to be okay if he keeps hitting like this. Nobody's benching him. Greg Counsell did not get to be multiple Manager of the Year winner by sitting guys who are putting up an OPS above 1,000.
Jay Jaffe, senior baseball writer for Fangraphs.com, and I'm a huge fan of Fangraphs. I'm going to encourage you, everybody. Just when Michael Bauman was on the other day, he and I both talked about the Fangraphs and the value of being a member, and also just what it means for continued excellent content and added content by supporting Fangraphs, which includes staffing and a lot of technological things. So we very much encourage you to support Fangraphs, which I have done with a membership for many years. And so I'm not asking you or suggesting you do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So I wanted to get that part taken care of. Jay, you have a great sense of history, so I look forward to talking to you, and I kind of saved it for now as far as the questions today. When you reflect on the managerial career of Whitey Herzog, who passed away at age 92 on Monday, we learned about it yesterday, of course, what stands out to you about him?
He cast such a long shadow over the era, and really, I think my appreciation has been deepened here, just reflecting on him. I probably hadn't thought about him in very much in the last few years, kind of out of sight, out of mind. But I was an impressionable young baseball fan during Whitey's heyday, his emphasis on athleticism, his understanding of how to look for what a player can do and figure out how he can help you. Really stands out. He had a great eye for talent, and it goes all the way back to when he was the director of player personnel for the Mets, helped build that '69 championship team. This is a guy who had experience at every level of baseball and was able to distill that into a plan of action for rosters that did not necessarily have obvious superstars. And to me, he was kind of the opposite of Earl Weaver. I mean, Earl Weaver was sort of the pitching, defense, and 3-run homers. I mean, Whitey obviously had the pitching and defense as well, but the emphasis on speed and on aggressiveness on the base paths really was. I mean, we miss that. Baseball misses that so much right now, and I wish we had more of it. In the 70s and 80s, you could have this diversity of philosophies and see teams thrive under different philosophies. And now the game is so much more monochromatic. And I think Whitey had an intuitive understanding of a lot of the things that we're using analytics to try to quantify now. And I marvel at just how ahead of his time he was.
And Jay, if I could add something to that, and I know you would appreciate that. It's the only reason I'm bringing it up. When I was a young sports writer, a young columnist, and I would sit in Whitey Herzog's office at Busch Stadium or on the road, and he had a ritual where he would do his own spray charts, and they were color coded, and they were symbols. And the thing of it is, they were beautiful to look at. I mean, they were visually striking. They were so well organized and presented. And he would be taking questions from us, or he would just be, shooting the bull or whatever. And he's doing these spray charts, and he's putting this whole thing together to where, he can reach out for it or whatever, but it's sort of like all in his head, because he would retain the information without really having to go look for it like during a game, because he remembers the work that he did a few hours ago, and the way the processor in his mind worked was fascinating, because we didn't have the advantage, none of us, including managers, of getting access to advanced metrics or any kind of stats that could take us to give us a shortcut to what you need to know about that night's game and matchups, things like that. I mean, it was really, to your point, to echo your point, to look back on that and remember witnessing this, it was really, really impressive that he could do that at that time with limited information available to him. I mean, really, really impressive.
Yeah, he wasn't writing everything down on index cards like this guy's 3 for 5 against this pitcher, which was kind of a Weaver tendency, but he assimilated a whole lot of information through his experience, and he really drew from some of the great managers, especially Casey Stengel, who kind of mentored him when he was an outfielder in the Yankees chain and never got to actually play for them. But Casey kind of took him aside during spring training and gave him a lot of advice, because he saw in him a future manager. Right? It's fascinating what a baseball life Whitey lived, and I'm kind of surprised, that after leaving the Cardinals, I know he did a short stint in the Angels front office, but that he didn't stick around the game for longer, because I think he had more to give, even as the game changed away from the models that he. I think his preferred brand of baseball.
Jay Jaffe, as always, sir, I appreciate it when you have time for us. So thank you once again. And, of course, we're going to continue to read you and everyone else, for that matter, at Fangraphs. So until next time, be well, and thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Bertie. I'm going to be writing a tribute to Whitey for Fangraphs tomorrow. Oh,
I can't wait. I swear to you, I was going to say, boy, I hope you write something about Whitey. Then I thought, I'm not going to say that. First of all, he might have something else planned. And number two, it sounds like I'm like trying to be some editor or something. Like I need to tell Jay Jaffe what to write, right? I'm glad to hear it. That makes me happy.
Suggestions are always welcome. Suggestions are always welcome. So I wasn't sure I had it in me, and then I read some tributes, including yours, by the way, which was great. And I don't not try to blow smoke at you here, but
thank you.
But it reminded me that I do have to weigh in on this guy, because he was a major figure, for my baseball appreciation.
I spent so much time with the help of Fangraphs, of course, and also Baseball Reference before Whitey went in the Hall of Fame. I was like, look, there's got to be a way to explain how profound his offense was in the 80s and how it separated itself from. And so, I remember on a Saturday morning, I just sat down for hours looking all that stuff up, and I went back and read that, knowing I'd had to write about Whitey, and I was like blown away all over again by the stuff that I was able to find out through the assistance of Fangraphs and Baseball Reference. I mean, it's just startling to see how he just radically just said, no, we're going to play baseball an entirely different way. And even the teams that were stealing a lot of bases at that time, they kind of forgot about some of the other parts of the game, which he never did, So it's fascinating guy. But thank you, Jay. Seriously, I can't wait to read that. That'll be great.
All right. Take care.
See ya. That's our friend Jay Jaffe from Fangraphs. I'm really flattered Jay Jaffe would read what I had to say about something. No, he's always late. He knows when I write about something like that. He knows that I have a historical perspective and a personal perspective, but also, you want to know what was so unique about Whitey Herzog and that style of baseball? Well, I'm going to lay it all out for you, because I did the research, and it's preposterous, the magnitude of what he did and how different it was. Yeah, I mean, I just get fired up talking about it. I really do. We're getting late on show here. Do we need to take another break?
We don't, but we can get out about 56 or 57 tonight.
No, okay, that's good. What did you think about what Jay Jaffe had to say there about Whitey?
There's so much truth. And one thing he brought up, which I think because here in St. Louis we just talk about, he made this trade, he made that trade. His ability just to recognize talent and go, that guy. And, we talked last week and we talked a lot lately about Rick Majerus, you have, and you talked about his ability to pick something out of a player and go, this will work in my system. I think Whitey did a similar thing with the game of baseball. He could pick out guys and go, that guy is going to fit a hole on my team, and he's going to, I'm going to be able to utilize that guy's talent. Joaquin Andujar, we mentioned John Tudor, just pitchers like that. Joaquin was an okay pitcher, but man, he came to St. Louis and he knew he had Hub Kittle, and it was like gold. He won 2 back-to-back 20-game winners for Joaquin. I mean, I don't think anybody else in the game of baseball was going to get that out of him. He recognized the talent in John Tudor, who was sitting in Pittsburgh. And I remember Whitey, and I didn't include this in the special yesterday, but I think I have a quote somewhere where when he made that trade, he goes, John Tudor learned how to pitch as a left-hander in Boston. And if he can do that, you know how to pitch.
Right.
And everybody was kind of like, really? Okay. And then he got off to the 1-6 start. And then we found out, Whitey knows his stuff. Whitey knows this guy will fit exactly what the Cardinals want to do. It wasn't genius that he got Bruce Sutter, and we all knew how great Bruce was, but he utilized that, and he recognized right away as he was building his team, if I don't have a closer, we're not going to do anything. And within a week, he had 2 closers with fingers, and he also had Bruce. And it's just his ability to just go, this is a piece. I need that piece. It'll work. And it was fascinating. You can say the same thing about Ozzie.
No doubt about it. And the other thing is players that he had within the Cardinal system. And one example that stands out, you look at a third baseman like Ken Oberkfell, who, what's the baseball cliche at that time, and maybe even now still is. It's just like, you need to have power from the corners. You need
right.
You need power hitters. And he knew that, he wasn't going to win with power, but so he would look at Oberkfell, and I don't know how many baseball men looked at Oberkfell and say, yeah, that's exactly what we need there right now. And he saw a guy that played outstanding defense, even if he didn't have that prototype physique you're looking for, but he played exceptional defense, and he also got on base a lot. And Whitey's like, you know what? Totally cool. This guy can work in my system. And so he would identify guys like that and really, really play to their abilities. And anyway, that's just another part of what he's done. But I'm irritated because you got Steven Matz, and he has pitched well, but he blew up Friday night in Arizona after 4 great innings. He muffs a little hopper back to the mound, and he falls down trying to field. He's on his knees and all that. And it's like, okay, whatever, man. Dude, you made a great pitch. The guy hit a nubber to the mound, all right? And then he just loses it. I mean, he just loses it. Base hit, base hit, base hit, base hit, And so, today, and this is after, again, Sonny Gray and Lance Lynn in the 2 previous games in the series against a light-hitting team, but I don't care if they're light-hitting or not. Your starter, it means you should shut them down, and that's what Gray and Lynn did. 1 earned run in 13 innings, those 2 guys. So here's a chance to sweep. By the way, and they still have the chance to sweep the Mets. I mean, to sweep the A's. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's only the 6th inning, and they're down by 2. But, it's like, okay, Mats, your turn, man. Those 2 guys did a hell of a job. They kept the A's down. They're passing the baton to you. Let's go. 5 innings, 7 hits, 3 walks, 5 earned runs, including a homer. And, there are just times where you say, bad starts are going to happen. I get it. But, dude, come on. You got to be better than that. I'm very tolerant of bad starts, and from the standpoint that, you can be pitching really well. Anybody can. I'm talking about in baseball history. Some days you just don't have it. I get it. But it's like, what the heck happened? It's like, until that error that he made in Arizona, he was humming along and really showing signs of putting together a good season, which he still can do, of course, if he stays healthy. But what? And I'm being facetious. I think. Is he still blown up from the error the other night? Is he what? To destroy his confidence? I think I am being facetious because there's no way that something like that would happen. But it's just disappointing. That is not a good team offensively at all. They're even worse than the Cardinals. You can't do that. Then the other thing, on the other side of the coin, you got Paul Blackburn, and he was who's been a pretty good major league pitcher, don't get me wrong, but still, that's not what he was today. He was basically begging the Cardinals, look, crush me, okay? Score a bunch of runs. Just pound the tar out of me. I don't have it. I'm not very good today. I just know it. It's a bad day for me. Take advantage of it. Score a bunch of runs. Thanks, but we don't have to do that. Thank you, though, for offering that. We don't have to do that. So he pitches 5 2/3, and the Cardinals got 6 hits, and they got 5, count 'em, 5 walks. And he walks off the mound, and there's 3 runs on the board. That's it. They're 2 for 10 with runners in scoring position. And they bypassed the chance to get 1 run when Contreras didn't score from third on a ground ball when the A's were playing back and conceding the run. So, Jim Hewer, I don't know what to say. Again, they can't close the deal.
No, that's one.
You can't lose the final game of every series. I don't care if it's in April or I don't care if it's in August. That should not happen. You're going to lose a couple of those games. If they lose today, because there's still time, that'll be 6 series played. And if they lose this one today, that'll be 0-6 in the final game of a series. You can't do that, man. You can't do it. And a few of those games were winnable. Absolutely winnable.
Oh, absolutely they were. The Phillies game was close on that afternoon. The Dodgers game, they couldn't close the door of that game.
Right.
And
Arizona. That game was there because they had runners all over the place against Galen early.
Yep. It's just, I don't know. The thing today, too, you mentioned Matz, but 11 base runners in 5 2/3, and you can only get 3?
Yeah.
Come on now. That's just not good enough, but they've reached the quota for 3 runs, so they just kind of shut it down now, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. They can't go. So, and it's sort of the usual suspects, pardon me, as far as the failure with runners in scoring position. Gorman 0 for 2.
Yeah.
The at-bats were not even remotely competitive. Nootbaar, I can't get down on him, man. I just can't because he's done well since he came back. 0 for 1. Ciani, 0 for 1. I didn't even know he was in the game, to be honest with you.
Well,
Walker, and I wasn't going to say Walker. I was going to say, let me give you a clue about who the other guy was that came up short. Here's my clue, even though I already blew my comic bit here. Here's the clue I was going to tell you. Ground ball, 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 ground ball. Who would that be?
That would be Jordan Walker.
That would be Mr. Walker, yeah. And then the Cardinals failed to turn a double play because Nolan Gorman with the pivot.
Just dropped the ball.
Ball comes out of his hand. So they have a chance to end the inning right then and there, but he screwed up with an avoidable. It's not technically an error because they did get an out on the force, but basically it was a huge moment in the context of this one inning anyway, because next batter came up, or I think it was the next batter came up and singled in a run. So how can you? They don't have their heads in the game today. That's pretty obvious to me. I don't I don't understand. I really don't understand that.
It's got to be better. By the way, you mentioned Walker's ground out. It was even an insult that it was T.J. McFarland who got him out. So you're like, oh.
I was wondering if that was the same dude.
Yeah, it's like, oh, come on. Oof. Painful to watch them blow games on getaway day or the end of the day of a series. That's.
And I know they all want to get on that plane and go home, and man, I tell you what, I'd like to do research on this, and I'm not. It would take forever because unless I had access to some like Elias Sports Bureau or something. I mean, I don't have time to actually do the work on this, and I'm never afraid to do work on research. But I'd like to see a team's record, any team, on a getaway day when they're coming home.
Oh,
and they have an off day. I'd love to know what that number is. Because it's like, boys, let's get to the plane. We got an off day. You know. Well, yeah, okay, I get it. I sort of get it. But why don't you try to win the game? Why don't you win the game? Then your off day is going to be a lot more enjoyable, ain't it?
You would think so. And this is one of those times when it's the A's, you got to sweep.
Exactly.
You know, if other teams, okay, you're playing better competition. This is not good competition Oakland's throwing out there. You got to run these guys down, and they didn't. Well, they haven't so far, but it's trending in the wrong way.
It is. All right, let me go to this. And by the way, let me before I do that, we're going to talk about Paul Goldschmidt because I did some numbers. It's pretty alarming actually, and I don't even know what to say at this point, other than I hope everyone who is continues to keep the faith with Goldie, and I don't knock them for that. I hope they turn out to be right, and I hope it happens soon. I'm just sort of backing off and saying, well, I just got to wait and see it. I have to actually see it. I'm not going to do it on blind faith. So he's 0 for 2 today, although he did walk. And so the stats I'm going to give you now have nothing to do with today. They were going into today, although we could add another couple at bats with one of the main points of why I wanted to pass some stuff along about him. Paul Goldschmidt, I think it was his second at bat of the season they're playing the Dodgers. He homered. I think it was his second.
Yep,
it doesn't matter.
It was. You're right.
It was the first game. He does not have an extra base hit since that home run. This will be for him. This will be his 17th game since then if he doesn't get an extra base hit today. So since hitting that homer at Dodger Stadium, he's had 12 hits, 11 of them. No, I'm sorry. I'm screwing that up. Ever since he hit the home run, he's got 11 hits, but they were all singles. And he's hit 153, and his slugging percentage is 153 because when you hit nothing but singles, you don't really get any slugging points. You don't.
No, you don't.
Because it's tabulated by using your total bases, So, and on top of that, man, he has done nothing but hit singles, and not many of them, because, again, he's only hitting 153 since opening day, but he's also striking out 28.5% of the time. Here's one of these clever little stats. Mm-hmm. Going into today,
yep,
there were 295 major league hitters that had more extra base hits than Paul Goldschmidt this season.
Oh, boy.
295.
Ooh.
Oh, I know, right? If
That's
you go
rare.
back to August the 30th of last season, he's batting 196. He's slugging 307, and his strikeout rate's 29%. Since last August 30, going into today, he was 26% below league average offensively. Since August the 30th of last season, going into today, 154 plate appearances. No, 154 plate appearances, batting second in the lineup. And 192 with a 303 on base percentage. His slugging percentage, batting second since last August 30th, is 292. Batting 30, he's performing 31% below league average offensively as a number 2 hitter since last August 30th. When you're batting a guy second, which a lot of managers, not just Ali Marmol, a lot of managers believe, hey, that's the key spot, the key spot in the lineup. You just can't have those numbers in the 2-hole. It's choking off your offense and your ability to build a big inning, right?
Absolutely.
It just is.
It is.
I don't care who's hitting there. This isn't a personal attack on Goldie. Got a ton of respect for him. That's not really the point here. Since last August 30th, and this isn't just about guys hitting second. Since last August 30th, there have been 132 major league hitters that have had at least 150 plate appearances since then. So keep in mind 132 is the number here. Of those 132, he ranks 119th out of 132 in extra base hits, 123 out of 132 in terms of OPS, 127 out of 132 in batting average, and 127 out of 132 in slugging.
Ooh.
So everybody keeps saying, well, look, he's Goldie. Everything will be fine. Just taking a little while. He'll be fine. Number one, I really hope you're right because I got great respect for him. I really, really hope you're right. Number two, you're going to have to excuse me, but I'm just going to have to wait and actually see that instead of assume that. Because this doesn't just go back to opening day, since opening day. It goes back to the final month of baseball in 2023, and it just ain't there. And he just struck out again. As we're talking. Mm-hmm. I don't know, Jim. What do you think? I try to be patient. I am Mr. 162, but this is a little bit different, right?
I'm with you. For me, the strikeouts, and while we're talking here, this last at bat, it was just he's missing sliders, but there was a fastball right down the middle. He just completely whiffed it. Those things are mounting up, and it's alarming. I'll just say that.
It is.
Something you brought up, and we had a texter to ask this at the beginning of the show. I was going to save it for when we started talking about this. The texter says, how long can you let Goldie bat in the 2-hole if he continues?
No, it's a great – no. And see, this puts the manager in a very awkward situation. Now, the response to that would be, well, who cares? You got to put the team first. And I agree in principle, but I also know it ain't as simple as it ain't as simple as those on the outside think it is. You got Goldschmidt, who is probably their most respected player overall in terms of the scope of his career. Or if it's not him, it's Arenado, who's hitting a little more, but he ain't done all that much this season. But it's not easy. And I'm not saying he shouldn't do it. But I'm just saying, let's not act like it's easy. Well, this is what I would do. Well, you're not running the ball club, and you don't have to deal with the players on a daily basis. At some point, if this continues, 100% Marmol is going to have to sack up and do what's best for the team. I don't think it necessarily should. I don't think it should happen now, although if anybody said, well, he ought to do it starting with the series against Milwaukee on Friday. Listen, if he did it, I would say, I appreciate that he did it. Do I think it's going to happen? No. Do I think the sky is falling if it doesn't happen ASAP? No. But at some point, and I would think it'd be sooner or later, you got to do it because you cannot have your team cannot put together innings where they crooked number innings. And you're taking away RBI opportunities from people. Listen, Brendan Donovan's getting on base a lot. He's doing his job. Now you have, unfortunately, this kind of black hole in the number 2 spot. That greatly reduces the RBI opportunities for whoever's batting third, whoever's batting fourth, whoever's batting fifth. Your team is choking right now because they can't score runs. It's awful. And as a manager, you have to do something to remedy that if it's within your power to do so. You can't make someone a better hitter. You can't go to the front office and say, could you go get me Juan Soto? Like in other words, you can't expect a manager to do things that are beyond his control, but he can make guys better, yeah. But again, let's be adults here. Let's not get carried away. Don't bring that Twitter fake tough guy, cowboy act here. I live in the real world, right? And saying something is easy because any bloke can do it, including me. But the people that make the decisions, it ain't that easy. Although at some point they're obligated to say, well, we've given this enough time. That's it. We got to try something else. Right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much longer this will go on before Ali's going to have to sit down, be alone in his thoughts and say, well, this is going to be tough. And the question I have, and I know we got to get to a break. I'd rather take a break before we talk to Andy. Is this the kind of thing the other players would say, man, he's embarrassing Goldie. It's too soon for that. Or do the other players think, we all love Goldie, but we got to shake this up a little bit. I wonder how the players feel about it.